Imagine you're living in ancient Greece, a world where gods are everywhere. They control the seas, send plagues, bless harvests, and punish the wicked. Temples rise from every hillside, and rituals structure daily life. Belief in the gods isn't just religion, it's the fabric of society. Now picture a man who said, "Don't fear the gods. They're not watching you. They don't punish you. In fact, they don't really care at all." Was this man an atheist? A radical? A quiet rebel? Or was he something even more provocative? A philosopher who believed in the gods, but argued they simply didn't matter? That man was Epicurus. And today, we're going to unpack one of the most misunderstood aspects of his philosophy. Did Epicurus deny the existence of the gods, or did he simply strip them of their power over us? Welcome to The Unfolding Journey, the channel where we explore timeless ideas, ancient wisdom, and the great philosophical traditions that still shape our lives today. From ethics to metaphysics, from Socrates to the Stoics, we uncover the threads that connect past and present. If you're someone who believes that thinking deeply is still a radical act, you're in the right place. Let's dive into the mystery and the clarity of Epicurus and the divine. Epicurus is one of the most misunderstood philosophers in history. To many, his name is synonymous with indulgence. To others, he was the original atheist, a man who sought to undermine religious belief and discredit the gods. But neither of these labels is entirely accurate. Epicurus was a materialist, yes. He believed that everything, including the soul, was made of atoms. He also believed in free will, the power of reason, and the pursuit of a tranquil life. And most controversially, he believed that we should not fear the gods. This belief sparked outrage both in his time and after. For centuries, his ideas were condemned as impious or atheistic. Early Christian thinkers in particular attacked Epicureanism as morally dangerous and theologically offensive. But Epicurus never said the gods don't exist. So what exactly did he say? Epicurus didn't deny the existence of gods. In fact, he explicitly affirmed their existence. He even said that the wise person would contemplate the gods and imitate their tranquility. Here's the nuance. Epicurus believed the gods exist, but they are entirely indifferent to human affairs. He saw the gods as ideal beings, perfectly happy, immortal, and untouched by human drama. They live in what he called the intermundia, the spaces between worlds, completely absorbed in their own bliss, neither helping nor harming mortals. In his letter to Municius, Epicurus wrote, "The blessed and immortal nature knows no trouble itself and brings no trouble to others." This means the gods are not angry, jealous, or vengeful. They don't intervene in our lives. They don't reward the pious or punish the wicked. They simply exist, in a state of divine, undisturbed serenity. And if the gods don't interfere in the world, then we have no reason to fear them. This was Epicurus' central point. Not that the gods are false, but that our fear of them is. Epicurus saw fear, especially fear of the gods, as one of the primary causes of human suffering. In his time, natural disasters, illness, and bad fortune were often explained as signs of divine wrath. People lived under constant anxiety, unsure if they were pleasing the gods or offending them. Religious rituals became a kind of insurance policy against divine punishment. Sacrifices, prayers, and temple donations were widespread, not out of devotion, but out of dread. Epicurus believed that this superstition, the idea that gods intervene in human life, was psychologically and spiritually damaging. It enslaved people to irrational fears and robbed them of peace. That's why he argued that understanding the nature of the gods, and of nature itself, was essential for achieving ataraxia, or tranquility. As Lucretius, an Epicurean poet, famously wrote centuries later, "Such great evil could religion prompt." So where does that leave us? Epicurus wasn't an atheist in the modern sense. He didn't believe the gods were made up or malicious. He believed they were real but irrelevant to human life. This is what scholars call theological non-interventionism, or theological indifference. It's a subtle but radical stance. He kept the concept of the gods to avoid the label of impiety, and perhaps out of genuine philosophical conviction. But he stripped the gods of agency, emotion, and interest in us. To Epicurus, the gods were models of peace, not masters of punishment. In many ways, he took the fear-based religion of his time and replaced it with a kind of spiritual humanism. One that placed the responsibility for happiness not on divine favor, but on our own choices, values, and mindset. Now let's step deeper into the metaphysics. Epicurus was a follower of Democritus, who proposed that the universe is made up of indivisible particles, atoms, moving through the void. Epicurus adopted this view and expanded it, suggesting that even the soul is made of fine atoms and perishes at death. This worldview left little room for supernatural intervention. If everything happens by the motion of atoms and chance swerves, which account for free will, then miracles, divine punishment, and fate become unnecessary explanations. The universe is not governed by divine will. It is mechanical, physical, and indifferent. That said, Epicurus didn't completely banish the gods. He maintained that they exist as part of the natural order, perhaps as immortal beings made of fine atoms themselves. But again, they're not involved in running the cosmos. So in practice, Epicurean physics and psychology led to a secular worldview, even if it retained the vocabulary of the divine. Was this a clever disguise? A safety tactic in a religious society? Or a sincere belief in non-interventionist deities? The answer depends on who you ask, and how much subtext you read into Epicurus' words. Epicurus' theological views had far-reaching consequences. The early Christians saw Epicureanism as a threat, not just because it questioned the gods, but because it placed reason and human happiness above divine authority. Church fathers like Augustine and Lactantius criticized Epicurus heavily, labeling him immoral, godless, and dangerous. In the Enlightenment, however, Epicurus was rediscovered as a hero of rationality. Thinkers like Thomas Jefferson openly admired him. Jefferson even wrote, "I too am an Epicurean." Today, Epicurus is often claimed by atheists, agnostics, secular humanists, and even some modern spiritualists, as someone who challenged blind faith while promoting a life of joy, friendship, and peace. His legacy isn't just in what he believed, but in what he freed people from: the fear of divine punishment, the weight of superstition, and the anxiety of cosmic judgment. So what does all this mean for us? In a world still divided by religious belief, dogma, and spiritual fear, Epicurus offers a liberating perspective. You can believe in a higher order without fearing it. You can live ethically without divine reward or punishment. You can seek truth through reason, observation, and reflection, not superstition. Whether you're religious, spiritual but not religious, agnostic, or atheist, Epicurus invites you to consider a different kind of theology, one that begins not in fear, but in freedom. A theology of peace, a divinity that inspires, not intimidates, and a universe where tranquility, not obedience, is the highest aim. Epicurus didn't deny the gods. He just dethroned them from their role as moral overseers and cosmic managers. He reimagined them as symbols of eternal calm, not as forces to fear. And in doing so, he offered one of the earliest roadmaps to a rational, fear-free, and joy-centered life. So the question isn't whether Epicurus was an atheist. The question is, what happens to our lives when we no longer fear the divine? If this exploration gave you a new way to think about philosophy, theology, and freedom, there's a lot more where that came from. Backhand Index Pointing Right subscribe to The Unfolding Journey for weekly deep dives into philosophy, ancient wisdom, and the ideas that shape how we live and think. Brain drop a comment. Do you think Epicurus was an atheist or something more nuanced? Bell hit the bell so you never miss a new episode. Thanks for being on this unfolding journey with us. Until next time, seek understanding, not fear.